So Jurassic World Rebirth has just released in cinemas, and personally I have seen the movie a total of 10 times so far, and in those 10 times there are a lot of notes to make. And one of those notes I made whilst watching this movie was today's video. And boy am I actually excited to talk about it, because initially, the topic of today's discussion, I was sat there in the movie the first time watching it, even the second time over, and I just thought they made a terrible mistake and this was one of the worst retcons of the whole entire franchise. Little did I realise that I was misinterpreting what was actually said, so today I want to talk about that Mosasaurus in Jurassic World Rebirth. Before we do get into the video, however, of course there are going to be spoilers in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled and you haven't had the chance to watch Rebirth just yet, go to the cinemas, then come back to the channel and watch this video. But today, I think this video is going to crack down on something very huge that many people seem to be very upset about Jurassic World Rebirth. So before we get into it, please do leave a like on the video if you enjoy it any given moment. Check out our Rebirth inspired merchandise on our merch store, a link can be found in the description. But also don't forget to subscribe to the channel for your daily dose of Jurassic content. But for now, let's get into today's video regarding the Mosasaurus that's seen in Jurassic World Rebirth. So I have actually watched Jurassic World Rebirth maybe too many times. But throughout those watches, there are some things that have gone over my head, some things that I clocked only on the 6th watch or the 7th. So that's why I do this, to make videos like this. But one thing, when I first sat down and watched the movie for the very first time with Dangerfield, was the Mosasaurus retcon. Initially when I watched that movie, and it was discussed by Martin Krebs that this seems to be the same Mosasaurus from Jurassic World, it's just been retconned and looks completely different, Dangerfield and I both turned and looked at each other like, did we just hear what he said? Have they changed that? Is this the same Mosasaurus from the Jurassic World Trilogy? For a whole week before we got to see it for a second time, we were just thinking, man, this sucks. This really sucks. There are loads of retcons in Jurassic World Rebirth, but this is the biggest one. To change the loved Mosasaurus design from the Jurassic World Trilogy, not a good choice. And even after my second and third watch, I was thinking the same thing. I was sat here like, man, did they really do this? Did they really go down this route of changing something so much? But it wasn't until my most recent watches that I realised, hold on a second. Something said here has been completely misinterpreted by not myself, but many other fans as well. It's recently been dividing the fan base because loads of people are starting to realise, wait, this is the same Mosasaurus, this is so upsetting, why would they change it? And unfortunately, loads of fans got very upset regarding this. If you are one of them, watch this video because it's very interesting. So why do we believe that this is a retcon? Well, it comes from a quote that Martin Krebs says in The Boat, the very first time the scene cuts to the boat as they are starting their mission. This is exactly what Martin Krebs says. The Mosasaurus was tagged in captivity, InGen continued to track it after its escape, we bought their data when they entered chapter 11, so now we track it. That is the direct quote taken from Martin Krebs in Jurassic World Rebirth. So when you first listen to this, you sit there and think, okay, the Mosasaurus did escape captivity from Jurassic World, and Parkagenics clearly bought the data and now they track the same Mosasaurus from Jurassic World. So I sat there thinking, they've made this aquatic creature look very different, they've moved it from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean, they've retconned so much about this dinosaur. Yes, I know it's not a dinosaur, please do not grill me in the comments, I'm just saying it because it's easier to call it a dinosaur. So when I came out of the cinemas, I was heartbroken, but something just wasn't sitting right. And then recently, as I said, I watched Jurassic World Rebirth again and I realised that actually, I think we misinterpreted what was said here. During the opening prologue for Jurassic World Rebirth, we see a helicopter arrive at Isla Saint-Hubert. Now it's no secret that we do get to see a pool of water, it may not be the largest one, but there is some water there and presumably, maybe you might be able to fit a Mosasaurus in there. Certainly a smaller one. And when the original Mosasaurus broke out from Jurassic World, it escaped into the Pacific Ocean, and between the years of 2016 and 2022, that's a lot of years, it was established that its territory in this world was the Pacific Ocean. On Dino Tracker you can see how it was making its laps around the Pacific Ocean, and of course the Pacific Ocean has big blue whales, it has loads of things to feed on. Why on earth would it suddenly decide to go to the Atlantic Ocean? That just made no sense to me because there's less food, there's not a big amount of food source there in comparison to the Pacific Ocean, and it is so much smaller. And not to mention it would have to have travelled through the Drake Passage underneath Chile, And between Antarctica, which just, again, doesn't really sit right with me, doesn't really make too much sense, why would the Mosasaurus do such a thing? That is one of the most dangerous parts of the world. And of course, the design of the Mosasauruses just don't match. So I've been trying to work this out in my head, and the answer was in front of me all along. Martin Krebs says this: the Mosasaurus was tagged in captivity. It didn't say it was captivity of Jurassic World, it could have just been that water area on Isle Saint-Hubert. That could have been the captivity. InGen continued to track it after its escape. Again, Martin never says where it escaped from. He never said that it escaped from Jurassic World. We bought their data when they entered Chapter 11. That's Parkagenics buying InGen's data when they entered Chapter 11, basically liquidation. Shortly after the fall of Jurassic World in December of 2015, InGen went into liquidation in January of 2016. But here's the kicker. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom's opening prologue takes place in June 2016. So how could they track the Mosasaurus after the escape if they've been in liquidation for 6 months? So that right there should be enough to confirm to me in the timeline that there are actually 2 Mosasauruses existing this whole time. One of which must have escaped from Isle Saint-Hubert in or around 2011, and then the Jurassic World Mosasaurus from the actual park escapes in June 2016. Because how can InGen, who is no longer there in liquidation, track a Mosasaurus that hasn't even broken out yet? So, logically speaking, based off what Martin Krebs actually says here, it makes no sense in the timeline. So therefore, this must be a secondary Mosasaurus that was only bred and actually broke out of Isle Saint-Hubert in or around the year of 2011, and it is not referring to the same Mosasaurus from the original Jurassic World Trilogy, which broke out on June of 2016. They don't live in the same territories, the islands are in different oceans, they look completely different, and whilst I would probably assume that it is a retcon, it is very smartly written where it is obscure enough to make us realise, hold on, that is a second Mosasaurus. So here we were, sat here worrying that they have changed the whole history of the Mosasaurus in the Jurassic franchise, when we realised, hold on, wait, this makes no sense. And it makes no sense because it is no sense. These are 2 separate Mosasauruses this whole entire time. One from Isle Saint-Hubert, broken out in 2011 and tracked by InGen until 2016, where Parkagenics in January of 2016 presumably bought the data to track that specific Mosasaurus. And then we have a secondary Mosasaurus in the Pacific Ocean that broke out from Isla Nublar in June of 2016. 6 months, very long after the fall of InGen. And that specific data was not bought by Parkagenics, as far as we know. Maybe they did, but they realized this island in the Atlantic has the other 2 species they need, so that's probably why they tracked that one specifically. But, ladies and gentlemen, I call for calm. It is not a retcon after all. I don't doubt the fact that it was actually intended to be a retcon, but because of that little grey area in that quote from Martin Krebs, it's enough to confirm that there are 2 Mosasauruses in the timeline. One broke out in 2011 in the Atlantic, and one broke out in mid-2016 in the Pacific. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. I call for calm, because there is enough evidence here to suggest that there are in fact 2 Mosasauruses. The only thing that literally could blow this theory out of the water right now is one of the directors or the writers or whatever comes out and says, yeah, it's the same Mosasaurus. That would honestly be very, very heartbreaking, because they left this dialogue open enough for us to realise, hold on, they didn't give any specific times, and the times that they did don't line up in the timeline whatsoever, so it's fairly obvious that, yeah, these are 2 different Mosasauruses, which honestly makes this movie a lot better for me. I'm going to go watch it for the 11th time with an open mind and thinking about that, because that was one of the main kickers why I just didn't like it. You know, I say this all the time. For me, when I enjoy expanded movie universes like Jurassic, Marvel, DC, or even Star Wars for crying out loud, when I watch these, my enjoyment of them comes from the lore of what is added and how they don't contradict each other or break the continuity. That's the whole reason why I actually fell in love with Jurassic. You know, its continuity was so tightly knitted, and the whole Jurassic World Trilogy added so much incredible lore that I just fell in love with it. So to see something be retcon after retcon, it's going to be very heartbreaking. But it's so nice to know that this big retcon isn't a retcon after all. It actually makes a lot more sense now thanks to the quote. So if you actually thought this, let me know in the comments and let me know if I actually changed your thought and opinion. As far as I'm aware, I don't think there are any holes in this theory, and it actually makes a lot of logical sense, but if you do find any holes, let me know. But be sure to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe for your daily dose of Jurassic content here on YouTube. But most importantly, make sure you're all staying safe out there, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye. Hey, did you enjoy the video? Well, why not leave a like and subscribe for more Jurassic content? I appreciate every single one of you for reaching this point into the video and supporting me this far. If you wish to support me even further, then feel free to head on down to the description where you can find links to donate, my Patreon, and you can also press that join button to become a member here on YouTube and gain access to some awesome emojis. A massive thank you to all of the YouTube members for this month, as well as the amazing fans over on Patreon too. Your extra bit of support really goes a long way. But for now, I wish you a great rest of your day.